Why are you smirking?
Because this is a...
Oh, God. Cheers to the girls' weekend.
Okay, so...
No, actually, cheers.
No, seriously. Cheers.
All right, what are we chitty-chatting about today?
Today we're going to talk about adult friendships and
Ooh-wee.
navigating those. So I think first we should talk about, the difference between having low maintenance and high maintenance friends. And how would you describe those, and what would you say makes a low maintenance friend versus a high maintenance friend?
I feel like the first thing that comes to mind is the amount of communication, obviously, right? Because you have friends that still good friends, but you don't talk every day. You don't need to talk every day. You don't even need to talk every week. But the friendship is still solidified and strong. Then sometimes you can have friends where if you haven't spoken to them in a while or you haven't hung out with them in a while, then maybe they feel some type of way. They feel like you're being distant when in reality, life be lifing. So,
For real.
What do you think?
No, I think for me, when I think of the low maintenance versus high maintenance, it's more so just feeling sometimes like I have to over explain myself to my friends that are more high maintenance, or those that are low maintenance. It's just honestly, girl, I'm gonna have to reschedule our plans today, and they just understand without me having to over explain why. It's just hey, I just can't do it today.
Yeah.
I think that's some of the main things for me, and just obviously how much energy do I have to put into it. And it's like you said, it's we can go a minute without talking or something, but you still know where our friendship stands.
I think another actually humongous thing for me is being understood. I have friends where I'm okay, I know I have to have energy. I know I have to have the energy to be talkative and be social. And then I have friends where we can just sit on this couch and enjoy each other's company, mainly in silence, and it's fine.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
yeah.
And so I think what I appreciate is the people that truly know me know that when I'm quiet or if I'm quiet, that I don't necessarily have an attitude. My social battery, I'm an only child, so are you. I'm used to having my alone time, and I've lived alone the majority of my adult life after college. So for me, my alone time is necessary for me to decompress, for my mental health, for my energy. Or there's just times I do want to be around people, but I just don't feel like chatting for 5 hours straight.
No, you're quick. I know when we're out, I know when it's yeah, she's done. She just needs a break. But no one takes it personal.
No, some people do take it personal.
Dang,
so.
I guess some of us I know don't.
Oh, we also did not say what we're drinking. Prosecco.
Yes, gotta love Prosecco.
A little Prosecco. Okay, so with that, in any friendships that you felt were high maintenance, how did you adjust that? Or did you have to have any hard conversations or set certain boundaries in order to maintain the friendship or keep it in a healthy place?
No, definitely. I think you have to. I think because sometimes with friendships, it can become too much to where it's you don't want to lose it. So obviously sometimes you may have to pull yourself back a bit. And I have to get that with certain friends and people in my life, just because I feel some people they can be around you so much to where they think it's this is just what it's going to be. And I have to find myself pulling back a bit, because I'm I cannot give myself to one friend or person all the time for a long period of time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially the more you put on your plate, the more you have going on, the busier you get with work and side stuff you're doing. It's it's impossible to literally maintain, just like we were talking about earlier. We're both kind of drained right now.
Yeah.
Balancing it all. So for me, I do find myself pulling back with friends and just having more time to and then we have to still make time for ourselves. And I make sure I block that on my calendar too, at least 1 to 2 days a week, where it's just I literally just need to have time for myself. I cannot entertain anybody else but me.
Yeah.
And so I find ways to balance that, but also making sure that I still take care of me, whether that's self-care, working out, things of that nature. But I think some friends, they can tell there's a difference, because it's oh, I haven't seen you in a while. And it's sometimes it's kind of on purpose.
You're it's oh, child, life be lifing.
Yeah, it's as I'm snuggled up under my sheets. Like, sometimes I need a break.
I think for me, times where I've like really had to put a boundary or like really pull back, almost too late. But like it was kind of my own fault not setting better boundaries early on.
Mm,
I've had friendships where the lines of like I am me and you are you were blurred, or just an overinvestment in my life or like my business, if that makes sense. And yeah, there's definitely reasons why that friendship didn't last. You got to have your own life, or like,
right.
your own things and your own friends. I've experienced, made a friend and we like started hanging out a lot, or I started inviting them to a lot of things with my friends, or then I feel like that kind of stopped them from building their own relationships or their own
Mm,
friendships. It's one of those things where I didn't realize it till later. Dang, she was really all up in everybody's business. And we're all like, did we really even know anything about her?
right.
You know?
It's funny you say that because I think for me, that's why I purposely love to have different friend groups. And I feel like different friend groups that I
Yes.
have are definitely different energies. Like, I know, like,
Yes.
these girls like to do this, these girls like to do that. But I think that sometimes I mix my friends, but honestly, like, I feel like a lot of my friends don't really gel that well. And I
Mhm.
think because a lot of them are very different.
Mhm.
And then I start to realize a lot of my friends can be a little territorial of me.
Mhm.
And so I don't know, sometimes I think it makes it hard.
Yeah. I think that's a huge lesson I had to learn, was when I invite everybody to everything, then it becomes like this expectance to be invited to everything. And then
Every
when they're
time.
not, then, that's when people get in their feelings and then you got to deal with that. I feel like I've learned the lesson of just like picking and choosing who to invite to what. And like, it's not personal, but I also like the fact that like I do different things with different people. Like,
Same.
feel like I have like a very nerdy-ish side to me that people don't know about. And like I have my friends that like I can nerd out with about like Harry Potter and Game of Thrones. And I have my friends where like we talk about careers and corporate life and
Mhm.
business and like life goals. And then you have more acquaintances that maybe you just like go get a drink with, but like you talk to here and there and every once in a
Right.
while. And I think that's another thing, and a big lesson that I've learned is knowing and accepting where people are at and like belong in your life and like what box they belong in as far as friendships, right? And honestly, managing your own expectations,
Yeah.
because I think sometimes if you have somebody in the wrong box, then that can lead to disappointment, or like even sometimes
Mhm.
people feel betrayed, but it's like maybe your expectations of that person shouldn't have been so high. So you have people that are acquaintances, you have going out friends, you have best friends, you have people that you can tell your deepest, darkest secrets, or
Right.
you have people that like you might just have a good time with, but like you don't want them all up in your business. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like the older you get, the more you realize, like, you just have a few core, like, friends you consider your sisters, and those are really important friendships. But,
Hmm.
you know, I think the older we get, it is hard to come by really good girls.
Hmm.
And it's also harder to trust people because we're older. And it's just kind of like we've been through so much with different friends. And so at this point, it's kind of like sometimes the girls are pushy, like, girl, let's hang out. And it's like, okay, girl. But it's like, I don't know though.
And I feel like I experienced that, like, especially when I was in LA. Like,
Oh, yeah. Very mixy city.
yeah. And
Very-
it was just like
Love home, but mixy.
this girl in LA, we hung out 3 or 4 times, but always in a group setting. And so one day we like go to this day party and we've all been drinking, but then we like go get food after, a group of 4 of us. And she just like randomly blurts out that she says like she's not sure if I like her and she feels like it's hard to connect with me.
Mm,
And I was like, okay. I mean, I was like, to be honest, like we've mostly hung out in like group settings. I feel like we're still getting to know each other and like let's go out one on one, whatever, because girls are weird. You have to take your time getting to know them.
seriously, you do.
But then it turned into like, why wasn't she invited to my 30th birthday in the south of
Mm-mm.
France?
Yeah, no.
We've hung out 4 times and
Yeah.
it's been in a group set, and that's where it's like, okay. this is feeling weird.
Mhm.
And so I never saw her again after that.
Mind you, your birthday trip was definitely with some of your closest
It was for
friends.
with people that I've known for years. Why? And that's another thing. It's just birthday trips, period. Maybe if all of y'all were not inviting people that you just met on
Yeah.
trips, there would be less drama.
No, for real.
Like,
For real. Because the horror stories, I'm like, how?
yeah, it's like if y'all really knew each other like that, then there probably wouldn't be too much of an issue. But
Yeah.
also, I think it's important to know who you can travel with and who you can't. There are
Right.
people that I love, but I probably would not really want to go on a trip with. And that's fine. Like, it's not, again, that's probably something that might get taken personally, but we all have different preferences when traveling when it comes to, oh, we're going to be in the hotel for 5 seconds. It doesn't matter where we stay. No, it absolutely does matter where we stay. Oh, we don't need to eat at all these nice restaurants. Like,
And
I'm not
do?
eating McDonald's on
No.
vacation. Or like some people don't want to do excursions,
Mhm.
or some people might be like, let's walk 30 minutes. And some people might be like, can we just call an Uber? For us, we're like, if it's cheaper to get a bottle, let's just get a bottle.
Absolutely.
But like not everybody's like that. So
No.
you have to know who you can go on a trip with.
No, exactly. And especially how far. Certain friends, it's
Yes.
like, keep it cute, go somewhere close. But obviously, out the country trips, like, honestly, that South of France trip, I did that because I know you and your friends.
Mhm.
But I would not have done that with certain friends or
Absolutely
certain
not.
people.
Absolutely not.
Because I'm like, the money we spent out there, please.
No. To potentially not have a good time.
Absolutely
yeah.
not. Way too much
No.
money spent to not have a blast.
No. And also too far
Way
where
too
you
far.
can't dip out if
Seriously. Yeah.
if stuff
my
goes
gosh.
left.
Yeah.
So I don't know. For me, the hard lessons I've had to learn in friendships is I have to warm up to people or whatever. It's not like I always say I'm not necessarily the friendliest person, but I'm nice.
Right.
Like when you
Same.
talk to me, I am nice and I am polite,
Yeah.
but I'm not necessarily the most outgoing. 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to initiate a conversation. And on top of that, I have resting bitch face. So I feel like a lot of times people perceive me negatively. And I think that's something that I've just started to not feel bad about anymore.
No, you
Like
definitely don't. Which
that
I love that you own that.
like I don't want to internalize other people's assumptions of me. That goes back to kind of what we were talking about last week too, how if we're not happy-go-lucky and smiling or
Mhm.
whatever, that we're perceived as angry Black women or whatever. But like I've been told I'm intimidating or whatnot before because I, again, have resting bitch face. I think what I've come to terms with is if you want to assume that, and to take it a step further, if me walking into a room and I'm not smiling makes you feel insecure, that's a you problem.
Yeah.
If I walk into a room and I'm not just so happen to not be smiling and you decide to have all of these thoughts that I'm angry or that I don't like you or that I'm intimidating or that I'm a bitch and we literally haven't even had a conversation, I'm not going to internalize that.
Right.
And I'm also not responsible for trying to change your opinion of me when you don't even know me.
Yeah, no, it's definitely giving you problem.
Yeah.
And you fix it. So my question for you is, have you ever had to have a hard conversation with a friend, and how did that go?
I'm the type of person where I don't have a lot of friends, so I really don't have a lot of experience being in arguments with my friends. Maybe I've had like a handful of tougher, harder conversations where we just like had to be truly honest.
Mhm.
Contrary to what you might think watching this, I actually am pretty non-confrontational. So I can either be like, so avoidant and just hold things in that it just comes out badly by the time I just explode. It's not a good thing. And I feel like part of the reason why sometimes it just like ends up coming out brutally honest is because I spend so much time either being non-confrontational or I am more concerned about the other person's feelings. I avoid having a hard conversation because I don't want to hurt their feelings or I don't want them to take it personal. I feel like I've had to learn to just try to address things maybe like closer into the moment and not bury them.
I agree with
You know
that.
what I mean? Because that's how resentment builds.
Mhm.
So
And
I've
how you blow
definitely,
up.
yeah. So I feel like and that's my problem. I hold on to things and get can be like resentful instead of just saying how I feel. And also, probably one of the biggest things I had to work through in therapy, it's easier to be angry than
Right.
it is to like say, you hurt my feelings.
Mhm.
So I feel like I've gotten better with saying, this hurt my feelings and this is
Mm.
why, instead of having those hurt feelings, holding on to them, and then that resentment like turns into anger. So I think having those hard conversations and being proactive about it before it's a harder conversation is important.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I totally agree. I think for me, it's just more so I hate confrontation and I've always hated confrontation.
Mhm.
And so for me, when I get in these sometimes heated conversations with friends, I find myself to automatically feel attacked.
Mm.
Because a lot of times I feel like people may treat me or talk to me in a way I do not talk to them. So it's like you don't have to
Mm.
talk to me like that because I don't ever get that low, that low below the belt with you.
Mhm.
And I feel like sometimes people could say obviously mean things and things like that. But then I know my side, like I can get super angry sometimes and really lash out. And
Mhm.
so I just try not to get myself to that point.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I don't know. I just find myself to think sometimes, oh, I lost my train of thought. Um,
Maybe we shouldn't drink.
I think also for me, sometimes it's hard to handle the hard conversations because I can be very blunt and really
Mhm.
say the actual truth when I actually finally really say how I feel.
I do the same thing.
Yeah. And when I say it, people are actually very hurt and
Yeah.
very offended. So
Mhm.
for me, I find myself really being quiet a lot because it's like, no offense, I can kill you in about 3 to 5 words.
Bro, I feel like I am the same way. I think being an empathetic person goes both ways.
Mhm.
I choose to use it for good 99% of the time, right?
Right.
We're intuitive, we're observant, right? So
Yeah.
we know what makes someone happy, and use that to like be thoughtful, or we
Right.
know how to console a person or whatever. We know if something's wrong with them, even if they're not saying it. That's part of being intuitive. But also, part of being intuitive is you know what makes them happy, but you also know what makes them sad. You also
Yeah.
know what makes them insecure, which means you can very easily hit below the belt.
Any day.
Yeah. And I choose not to ever take it there. One,
Right.
because I'm very serious about my character, but also treating people how I want to be treated. And I'm also just a big believer in karma, and
Mhm.
what goes around comes around. And also, the negative energy you put into the world is going to come back to you.
Absolutely.
Um, and so that's another thing for me why I don't, and I feel like I haven't really dealt with much resentment in friendships, but like as far as relationships, like I don't
Mm.
like romantic relationships. I don't like who I am when I feel resentful, because I don't like who I am when I'm angry.
Mhm.
And also I don't like the way that I compartmentalize my hurt feelings like that. Like
Mm.
it's avoidance, and it's like actually suppressing her emotions. And I also feel like that's when my level of empathy drops and you will cry because I feel like I live life as far as like Michelle Obama, when they go low, you go high. Like
Right.
when I get negative comments online, I'm just blocking people, I'm not responding. But I also have a side where I feel like I'm understanding. I try to
Mhm.
see it your side, I try to see it your side. And when people over and over again don't take accountability or they play in your face, is finally when the monster comes out,
Mhm.
and every single possible thing I can say to read you for filth might come out in that moment. I feel like you laugh now when like I'm quick to block people, but it's because I'm not going to let you even get me close to that
Come on,
point.
right.
So I'm just going to remove myself. Like me
Yeah.
blocking people is actually me removing myself, not me removing them.
Right.
You know?
No, I agree.
Moral of the story, when it comes to friendships or relationships at all, having those hard conversations is important early
Mhm.
on. I think, but also for me, and reasons why I've had to end friendships is because I've tried to go the mature route
Right.
and sit down and have those hard conversations and honest conversations, and there hasn't been accountability on the other side.
Mhm.
And on top of that, when you have no accountability and you add the gaslighting on, for me, that's where like the friendship is over.
Right.
We don't need to sit down and have a mature conversation, because if you're not going to be honest or accountable for your actions, then this is pointless.
No, for sure.
So I think it's important to discern who you can have those hard conversations with and who honestly is just potentially a lost cause.
No,
I
for
don't know.
sure. No, absolutely. Like I'm quick to fall back. Like
Yeah.
I'm not going back and forth with nobody. And the second people want to go back and forth, I literally will be like, bye, literally. Like
Yeah.
I'm not going back and forth with you. It's for what? You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh,
instead,
I have a question. So if your friend is dating a guy and you
mhm.
see him out
Mm.
and I don't know, maybe something looks suspect, are you telling your friend?
So honestly, us living in Houston, let's be honest, that is so common. Like I've texted you about someone.
Me? Oh,
Remember?
yeah. I'm
In
like,
a,
child,
in
who would I talk
a,
to?
right. But anyways, yes, I would. And I think, of course, that has to be someone that obviously is really a friend of mine.
Mhm.
If it's just like a mutual friend, but no, if this is someone I literally spend time with, we hang out, we're on the phone, I'm definitely gonna tell her. I know friends that literally send screenshots because sometimes it's like, no, you actually need to see your man in
Take a
action
picture in real time.
in real time in
Not
the
see your
club.
man in action.
See him with
Send the
another girl.
receipts.
Gotta see those receipts. But no, absolutely. And I feel like when friends don't do that, then it's like I really have to question your loyalty. And it's like,
Mm,
because if honestly if it was the other way around, I would do it for you. So why would you do it for me?
mm,
But I definitely would feel a way if a friend just acted like they didn't see my man out with some other woman.
yeah. So, what are your thoughts on you tell her
Mm-hmm.
whatever, they work it out, da 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 da. 2 months later, you see it again, or you hear it. Maybe you hear about it. Then what?
I feel like at that point, you literally tell her once or twice, but after the third time, honestly, do what you want,
Yeah, like
babe.
at what point when your friend keeps getting played, do you just mind your business?
Honestly, for me, it's about after like the second or third time.
Mm-hmm.
Because the older we get, I think the more we realize, like, ladies, we are so much better than this.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, at the end of the day, everyone's going to do what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like with situations with friends, I will tell them 2 to 3 times about their man, and I want you to do the same to me. And by then, child, just let me be.
It's a canon event.
Like, if you want to be dumb.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
What about you? Like, how would you handle that situation? Or honestly, would you try to confront the man?
Ooh, it depends on the friend. At the very least, I would let it be, there would be no like incognito TMZ. Like, I would let it be known that he saw me, so that at the
I know
very
you
least,
would.
he's like shaking in his boots. I don't know. I think for me, sometimes with my friends, I don't want to say like have more patience or whatever, but I think I'm the type of person where I've just had to learn the hard way.
Mm-hmm.
So one, I can't judge any of my friends because I've had to learn the
Right.
hard way. And so I think it also sometimes is easy for me to just be like, well, I'm here if you need me or whatever, but like also mind my business, because we all need to go through canon events sometimes, you know what I
No,
mean? Like,
seriously.
it doesn't, and I think we've all been there where it's just like, deep down, you deserve better. You
Right.
have people around you telling you deserve better, but like a lot of times the person just has to be sick of it themselves.
No, exactly.
And
You
I
have to
think
be,
that's
yeah.
also, as a friend, you just have to learn to mind your business, and when they're finally done, they're done. So
No, I agree. Like I've had to let my friends go through certain things and just figure it out eventually. And then it's like, okay, good. I'm finally glad you came to your senses,
Yeah.
like they've had to do to me. And I
Mhm.
appreciate the friends that grow with you through those hard times in your life
Mhm.
versus the friends that make you feel like down or make you feel dumb and just kind of like leave you hanging. It's like still support my stupidness to some extent,
Mhm.
but like don't leave me hanging for good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because sometimes we do deep down need just that phone call or two. And it's just
Mhm.
realizing like, okay, like eventually she'll move on and get over it. But
Mhm.
some we know some of our friends it's harder than others to just kind of finally move on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I feel like for me, I will give you the good advice. Whether you take it,
right.
you take it. Um, but I feel like I've had friends who like were low key judging me and like trying to tell me what to do or give me advice, but then like they weren't taking the advice themselves. And like eventually that really started to piss me off
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like people in glass houses should not throw stones.
No.
Um I don't know, and I feel like that kind of goes back to the people that want to be all up in your business and judge you, but then it's like, hold on, you did what? And you were
Right.
talking about me?
No,
Like,
seriously.
or you put up with what?
Yeah.
Or like you're crying over this man that's not even your man and you're judging me for somebody I've been dating for an
Right.
extended period of time. Like, you know what I mean? Like I've
Exactly.
been in those situations and I'm like, okay, no.
No, exactly.
So,
Or the times where it's like your friend will try to ask you for advice, right? And then they try to like throw shade back at you. It's like, wait, wait, wait. We're not even talking about me. We're talking about you. You know what I mean? That's the stuff that's crazy to me. But also, I think
yes.
the older I've gotten, I've also really started to fall back on the information I tell my friends about the guys I'm dating.
Hmm.
Just because it's like the second you tell your friends the one bad thing he did, they're
Hmm.
always going to remind you of that. And it's just like, I feel like all that extra negative energy is just not worth bringing into a situation that you actually maybe see something truly good
Hmm.
in that person.
Yeah.
So I find myself, be careful what you share.
Yeah.
Like, don't share every argument, every single thing he does with
Hmm.
someone. Like sometimes you just have to keep it to yourself personally.
Yeah. And also family too.
Oh
Because,
my
you know,
God.
family is never going to look at that
Girl.
person the same
No.
if you tell them.
No.
Yeah. But also, I think for me, that's also why I'm happy I have a therapist too, because it's like, all right, at least I can tell her and like that's a, safe space. But also, I think it's good because you can have an unbiased, like neutral third party to talk to.
Absolutely.
Whereas sometimes you can't vent to your friends because they might put their own experiences onto you,
Absolutely.
or onto your relationship.
Especially if they don't like that person you're talking about or maybe
Mhm.
had an issue with them. They're like, girl, I already told you about her. I already told you she's this, she's that. And it's like, okay, wait, wait, wait. Not too much of my
Yes.
friend now.
Or also, I think if they're just not happy with like their dating life,
Oh my God. Let's talk
then it's
about
going to
it.
be, then a lot of times subconsciously, maybe they don't want to see you happy or whatever. And I feel like that's a whole nother discussion. Unfortunately, the past couple years, like I've lost friends or whatever, and I feel like I've had to come less naive to things. Um, but like I'm also the type of person that like I have like delayed shade recognition.
Not delayed.
I'll be like, like it'll be like 3 days later, and I'll be like, wait, was she just trying to shade me?
And did.
Yeah. But like it's if it's somebody you don't really know or whatever, somebody you just met, it's like
Right.
whatever. But like if you have a friend and it was just and you like a couple days later, you're like, wait, why did she say that like that? Like
Yeah.
sometimes that, but like how do you handle that? Like have you experienced like a friend throwing subtle shade at you, and like how do you handle that? And also, how do you differentiate, because we all like make fun of each other,
Right, right, right,
you
right,
know
right.
but like how do you differentiate between fun shade and, oh no, you're an undercover hater?
Right. Honestly, for me, I really try to stay away from people that make me feel like, why do I feel like you're always trying to throw shade or throw these negative names? on me or labels because I feel like I really try my hardest not to throw labels on people.
Mhm.
Because when I'm out and I see girls saying that all the time, I'm
What do
like,
you mean
that's
by labels?
ugly. Labels as in just kind of like, girl, are you dumb? Be like, I don't know, just little stuff like that. Or it could be something like, I don't know. I can't even
Mhm.
think of all the stuff, but you just hear the little things, you know
Mhm.
what I mean, that people say to you. I think sometimes for
Mhm.
me, the labels could be, you have this because of your parents. It's
Mm.
like, first of all, my parents, yes, they did establish me, but my lifestyle is really me.
Mhm.
Like, honestly, it's like a lot of the stuff that I do is because of me and how
Mhm.
hard I work.
Mhm.
And it's like a lot of us don't have to post what we do, but a lot of us really work very hard behind the scenes.
Mhm.
Um,
I think I've gotten to the point where people of other races do it all the time. And everybody is like bashing LeBron or saying that Bronny doesn't deserve to be in the NBA. And my perspective of that is I love to see the nepotism in the black community for once.
hello,
You
for
know what I mean?
once.
Like, I'm looking at that and I'm seeing a black man setting his kid up to have a better future and to continue on with black generational wealth, which is exactly what we need more of.
Right.
And I'm not mad at it, and people can say he doesn't deserve it or that he didn't work to get there. How many people's children of other races are in certain positions just because of their parents?
No, literally.
Like,
So many of them.
shout out to LeBron for evening the playing field a
Come
little
on.
bit, like I'm not mad at it at all. So for me, if I get to a certain point and people want to say it's because of my mom, I'm proud of that. And
No,
honestly,
right.
because my mom did not come from a lot. So I'm proud to say I was raised by a single mother that worked her ass off to set me up.
Come on.
And number one, now I'm in a position where eventually I'm going to repay her and I'm also going to set my children up.
No, literally.
And you can stay mad.
Stay mad. No, seriously. No, that's how I
I,
feel.
you
I think we
know?
talked about this earlier, that's why sometimes I think I find myself to be just a little more private because a lot of people truly just aren't happy for you. We both really do have a very strong worth ethic
Mhm.
and we work on ourselves internally every single day.
Mhm.
And we're consistent in little things in our life, whether it's work, personal, therapy, working out, things like that. It's like you have to stay consistent in everything in your life.
Mhm.
And I realize when I see the success that we both have had so far, it's like we really don't sleep. Like we're working every day. There's
Mhm.
not a day where I'm just laid up watching TV for hours.
Mhm.
Like when people are like, "What's your favorite show?" I'm like, I don't even know the last real full show I've watched because it's like I don't have time for that. Like,
Mhm.
I'm really in my grind era. And
Mhm.
for me, it's like sometimes I do empathize with people, but at the same time, it's like you just didn't want it bad enough.
Mm.
Like, when I think of these successful people and I watch their stories, it's like it doesn't take one income now. It takes what, 7 streams
Mhm.
to really be a millionaire. So when you
Yeah.
think about it, it's like one income ain't gonna do nothing right now.
Yeah. And honestly, I feel like that was like a hard realization and conversation that I had to have with myself. Cause I think December will be like 2 years that I like from like when I first posted my first TikTok and started to try and make content. And I'm just like, I could be so much further along if I was consistent. And
Absolutely,
I
right?
had to look in the mirror and tell myself I was not consistent. And that's why I'm
Mm,
not where I want to be with it. And, that's just that. But now I'm at the point where like I'm putting all of my energy into that. I'm
mhm.
sleeping, and breathing, planning, filming, editing, uploading, optimizing content, and I'm deprioritizing other things. I still prioritize my family and I still prioritize my closest friends, but I'm not as available as I was before. And I think that goes back to the low and high maintenance friendships
Yep.
is like, but I also think when you're just in grind mode like this, you have to have friends that are also in that mode or at the very least can understand it, because then they're not going to take it personal,
Right.
like and I also think when people are used to you slacking off and then you get into a grind mode, I think it can also make them feel insecure, like they're not doing enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, and then it's low key like there's shade thrown or animosity there because they're feeling some type of way. But like, again, that's a you problem, you know, like you should want to have friends that like inspire you or make you work harder. So I don't know.
No, I agree. And I think a lot of people are actually afraid to surround themselves with people that are doing better than them.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer to hang out with people that are doing better than me because it pushes me to go further ahead versus hang around with people that are doing less than me.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's like I'm comfortable because they're like, girl, you doing so good, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, I want friends to encourage me and push me and put me on to things that I don't even know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or
Mm-hmm.
put me on game of like, oh dang, you do that too, girl. But like, oh my God, I need to, ooh.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I love friends that inspire me. And I feel
Yeah.
like I'm so glad I have met a lot of girls like that over the last few years
Mm-hmm.
that have really pushed and inspired me in so many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's so important with these adult friendships that we have.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
it's important to have friends that can understand, you know, because it's like, oh, you know, I want to do this, I want to do this, like I'm not where I want to be, blah, 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 blah. And you can either have friends that understand or support you or inspire you, or you can have friends that'll be like, you're doing just fine. What are you talking about? And it's just like,
Right. It's like,
all right. You know.
I have left friendships that make me feel as though, are you kind of an undercover hater?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like a lot of girls can get like that. And I think the more you get closer to people and the more you can share with them and the good news you tell people, I think that's when they start treating you differently.
Like that's called jealousy.
Yeah.
And like when I say I've like had to have wake up calls and like stop being naive, or I have like delayed shade
Yeah.
recognition, it makes me, for whatever reason, it makes me uncomfortable to be like, oh, this person's jealous of me. Like it makes me uncomfortable to even
Yes.
say that or to have the thought, especially somebody that's a friend. Um, but unfortunately, I've had to stop being naive about that because I've had friends that it's not fun shade. It's always like little comments here and there that eventually got to a point where it became blatantly obvious that maybe there was like jealousy or whatever there. And I think that's like been a hard realization for me in like adult friendships. As far as friendships, I've had to stop being naive and start paying attention to those little jabs and those
Yeah.
little comments because they do fester and become like real animosity, and eventually they come to the surface, you know, and like manifest themselves. So, and I think as I've gotten older, and I feel like you maybe agree, that's why it's become harder to maintain or like make new friends because people feel some type of way, you know? And it's like, I'm over here minding my business and you have an issue with me for no, like, I don't even know why, you
No,
know?
yeah. No,
Um,
like everything you're saying, I'm like, when I'm telling you, I'm like, I feel everything you're saying. And I think a lot of that is why I'm at the point now in my life over the last few years. I'm like, I I have to meet people that are on my level or people that have had similar upbringings to me more so because it's like I notice when I align myself with people that are more like me, I have less problems, less conflict,
mhm,
less people making me feel like I have to be small or I can't
mhm,
share things because it's like I hate when people make me feel like, "Oh, you just think you're better than me." And it's like I
mhm.
literally don't.
Speaking of like trying to build Black generational wealth, right? Like,
Mhm.
I thought of this question earlier, like literally when I was in the shower, because that trend on TikTok where it's like, I think Black women should start dating white men, but it's like really the white men
Oh yeah.
recording. So, like, I feel like more and more, right, like thinking about being like 30 and single and whatever, and like maybe potentially being open to other races. Like, would you ever want to get married outside of your race?
Ooh, that's a great question. I feel like I am more open to it. I just think, of course, there's those cultural differences and those
Mm-hmm.
things that you have to work out. I'm really open though. Like, I'm like being raised in California, I used to talked to guys that were not black, you
Mhm.
know, a little bit here and there. But I do think the older I get, I am more into my black men, or as some of you know, I don't even know if I should say this on the
The
record, but
green, white, green.
yes, I love me a Nasha boy. Yeah. What
Um,
about you? I mean,
so my thoughts on it are this. At this point, the things that I've been through in dating, I would just like somebody kind, thoughtful, honest, loyal, respectful, obviously with a good career. Um, and hopefully they're good looking and over 6 foot. um, but I would be open to it if they weren't black. Because at this,
mm,
it's like I just would like somebody kind. I think it's hard dating in this generation. So for me, if I met someone like that and they were not black, I would be open to it.
mhm.
I think the only thing that I think about, and yes, also the cultural differences like can be a struggle sometimes, depending or whatever. I think for me, like that person would at least have to have black friends. Like there has to be some
Mhm.
level of understanding of our culture,
Yeah, I
you
agree.
know? Um, so that's one. But I think for me, the thing that I think about when we go back to talking about how hard we're working and like we want to build wealth for ourselves, um, and build black generational wealth, like I think about the fact that the day that I feel like I'm wealthy, and if I do fall in love with somebody who's not black, and then we have a mixed child, and then that child goes on to have a child or, have a child with somebody that's not black, um, then it's like, because I do feel like building black generational wealth is important. Like
Yeah,
look at
it
the
really
state of the
is.
country.
Yeah.
Look who we just elected, you know? And so I think that is really important for our community. So I think that honestly is probably the biggest reason why I still like have my fingers crossed for somebody being black,
Right.
or for my person being black. It's not because like white people don't deserve money or anything like that. It's just like we really need that in our community.
Right.
Um,
More of it for sure.
and for that to potentially just like die off within like 2 generations
That's
to
all it
me,
takes.
would be sad. So I don't know.
No, I agree. I think for me, I just love seeing like a beautiful black family. I'm like, wow, it's just
Hmm.
so beautiful.
Hmm.
But yeah, I want to definitely try my hardest to stick with someone that looks like me or has been through some of the same struggles as me,
Yeah.
preferably. But then again, it's like
Hmm.
I feel like you just have to still be open.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because sometimes they're like your person is obviously not your type, and so when I think of that, sometimes
Hmm.
I'm like, so who is he? You know, what he look like? You know, so
Being 30 and getting older, I would prefer to not date someone with a child. But I feel like those options are potentially getting limited the older we get. So,
no, I agree. I agree, and I think I do have some fear in the older I'm getting, and I'm seeing other Black women I know that are over 30 and are now closer to 35 and still
mhm.
unmarried without children and have found the love of their life. It has made me now at this point, creeping into my 30s, be more open to, okay, Ashlyn, maybe those non-negotiables you had when you were 21 are no longer going to work. Like they're no longer in void. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've even had to come to the realization of certain things like, hey, let's go back to the drawing board on this because we are getting closer to the point of like maybe you are blocking your blessing or the love of your life because of that one thing.
Hmm.
So you being open and saying, you know what? Maybe I could do the child thing now. That's a start.
Yeah.
That's a start. And I definitely think I'm at that point now where there's certain things I'm willing to put up with. But I
Not
think,
put up with.
well,
Willing to work with.
yes, okay. That's a great
Willing to navigate.
Yes, that's a great word. That's a great word. But yes, there's things that like absolutely not, like are non-negotiable.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
We shall see, man. It's Afrotech in Houston this week. The businessmen might be here. I literally say that and I joke, but I'm also like, don't talk to me.
right. And I don't know if you've seen, but all the girlies on TikTok are on the same page. They're like, I'm gonna meet my husband this weekend. I'm like, okay, so everyone's on the same agenda this weekend. That's so great.
I don't know. I feel like I go back and forth about dating right now. I'm like, life has been very, very, very peaceful for a little while now.
Yeah.
And part of me just really does not want my peace disturbed. But then another part of me is like, it would be nice to meet someone.
Yeah.
I'm leaving it with God.
No, yeah. And I feel like it's like one of those things where it's like you can't force it. And I feel like the second you don't force it, it just randomly comes. But lately I've been seeing a lot of my close friends are like meeting guys. I'm like, okay, guys, what's going on? Is it finally our turn? We finally up?
I think God is calling me to focus on career goals. And so, and quite literally, with the way things are going, I actually don't have time to
That's
date, right?
exhausting.
I haven't been like, I really don't know when I like would go on a date.
Yeah,
And
no,
if
it's
I did
definitely
have the
hard.
time, like it would be sporadic then. It would be like I wouldn't see him for 2 weeks. I like physically do not have time because I feel like the second that like I get myself back settled, I'm like back on a plane going somewhere, you know? I don't know.
Yeah. And sometimes I feel like, when you're dating, it kind of, let's be honest, it kind of takes you off your track.
Yeah, I can't afford that because I've been guilty of allowing a man to distract me from my
Mm-hmm.
goals. And I've been like fully locked in, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also part of it for me. I'm like, I can't afford the distraction.
Right.
So, but you know what? Maybe I'll meet somebody that can help us with this podcast or whatever. Like, that's what I welcome.
Yeah.
If you're going to make something in my life easier, then yes.
No, and that's where I'm at too. It's like I need someone that can pour into me in ways and help benefit me. Just
Mhm.
like I'm gonna benefit you in ways. But yeah, like to your point, absolutely. Like, how can you help elevate my life? Because I want to do the same for you.
Yeah,
But sometimes these men can be very draining.
sometimes.
Listen, my dad always tells me, stop being so negative, stop generalizing all men. So I'm trying to take those words out of my
You know what?
vocabulary because, sometimes it's kind of like you manifest those things.
Mhm.
So, I'm not trying to generalize the whole male population, but
Yeah. No, I haven't given up hope. I do feel like somebody's
good.
out there for me. I just feel like this is a season of waiting, and
Yeah.
I'm waiting patiently. And I also feel like, God is still working on my husband right now. And so
Hmm.
that's why because I feel like, I'm somebody special. So he's got to take his time making sure, and I feel like he's worked on me. So I
Right.
feel like he's working on him and then he's going to bring us together at the right time, because I feel like when you are a valuable piece of art, there's only a select amount of buyers that can afford you. And then within that, there's only a smart amount or a select amount of people that even collect art. So you got to hold on to your work of art until you get it for what it's worth. And so that's been my mindset.
I actually love that quote because I
Thanks.
feel like the second you sell yourself for less, boy,
Yes. It's like if
you
you
get
have a
crumbs.
painting that is worth $500 million,
Mm,
are you going to sell it to the person tomorrow who offers you 400 million? Are you going
right.
to wait a little longer and get it for what it's worth?
Yeah, no, I agree. Patience is key.
Yes. And that is also why you don't see Ferrari commercials, cuz it's not for everybody.
No, you're
Not
right.
everybody can afford the luxury.
No,
They don't
gotta
market to the masses.
know your target audience.
Exactly. That's why I be in the house.
We're not everyone's target audience, and that's okay. And I don't
Yes.
want to be. That's exhausting.
I do not need to market myself to everyone, honestly. That's why
No.
when people are like, you should smile more, I'm like, actually, no.
Mm-mm.
I don't want to make myself more approachable.
No, seriously. I mean, because it's like some things are just not worth the energy or time,
Yeah.
period.
Yeah. Anyways, we'll let you guys know next week if I meet my husband at Afrotech this week in Houston. Was that a crossed finger?
Yeah, because this has been on my calendar for like 8 months. Like I've been so excited for Afrotech to come to Houston. I know, the city's gonna definitely be outside for sure, but I'm just looking to have a good time this weekend.
Where are the civilized events? Like the city is always outside.
Literally. Yeah.
Thank you for watching.
See you next week. Bye.
Why did I say thank you for watching like that? Okay. Oh. My knees are cracking. Oy. Oh my God, I'm getting old. God, my knees are literally stiffening up sitting like that.